Okay, so we're going over slope formula, and we just went over slope based on the Cartesian plane in our last, oh shoot, not up on this screen. We looked at slope on our Cartesian plane on our last lesson there. And this time we're going to do it mathematically, and there's a way to go about it without even having to look at the Cartesian plane. And that's kind of what we're going to go over. So we looked at this before, and our slope formula is rise over run, okay, which is the difference in the rise between two coordinates and the difference of the run between two coordinates. So if you take point 1 as x1 and y1, and point 2, that's what the P stands for, as x2 and y2, you can actually sub it into a formula to get the answer of your slope without even having to look at the Cartesian plane. So this would then be your formula, and m, or if you see it written like this, is slope, okay? That's what m means. Okay, so slope is the difference between y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1, okay? So y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. All right, so if we look at these points below, and we look at the slopes, we're going to do it the other way that we have just we did in the last lesson, and we're just going to count the blocks, and then I'm going to show you how to do the calculation based on what I just showed you there. So if we look at the slope here again, we've got A to B, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's down 5, and we're going to the right, 1, 2, 3. So it'd be negative 5 over 3. Once again, our rise over run. So our rise was actually going down 5, which is negative, and our run is to the side 3. If we look at slope C to D, we are going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're moving up, so it's positive 6, and we're going across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're moving to the right, so it's a positive as well. And we can reduce this to 3 over 4, okay? Now, looking at slope E to F, just looking at those 2 points right there, what's our slope? 0, right? That flat line. And then G to H is up and down, so it's undefined. Awesome. Okay. Okay, now the back page is actually where you're going to learn how to use the slope formula and come up with the slope. You'll notice that the points are the same points on your graph on the front are the same points on the back side of that sheet there, okay? So A is actually at 3 and 9, and B is actually at 6 and 4, okay? Just so you're aware. So the points we use here are all the same, and we're going to show you that using this mathematical equation, the slope is the exact same as it is if we just counted our rise and our run. So if we look at the formula here, it says using the slope formula, find the slope of the following line segments. So the important thing you need to do is make sure, number one, we have our equation, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? So that's one thing that you should put at the top of your page. The second thing you need to do, guys, is figure out which one's going to be 0.1 and which one's going to be 0.2. So typically what I usually do is I just go, literally, this is 0.1, this is 0.2, because that's just in alphabetical order. It makes it way easier. First one is 0.1, the second one's 0.2. So if we do that, then on top of my ordered pair, I'm going to make this x1, and I'm going to make that y1. So please write this down, because this is the x coordinate, and it's the x coordinate of 0.1. Okay. And then over here, I'm going to make this x2 and y2. Okay. And that's going to help us set up our equation. So we have our equation below. It says the slope of AB, or the slope of the line segment AB, equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now we can just sub in those numbers. So if we look at the first one, our y2 is right here. So that would be 4. Our y1 is 9. So we're subtracting 9 over our x2 is 6. And our x1 is 3. So if we did that addition, or that subtraction, I apologize, it would be 4 minus 9, which is -5, and 6 minus 3, which is 3. And if you look to that front page, that line segment's going to have the exact same slope. Okay? Now, if we look at our second one here, we know that we're just going to pick this as 0.1 and 0.2. So then this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, that is y2. Get in the habit of writing that down, because some of you will get confused when you're putting in numbers. Once again, we know our equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And if we just fill those numbers in, y2 is 2. Then things get tricky with some integers, but it's subtracting. And what's our y1? -4. So we do bracket -4. Okay. And then over x2, which is -2, minus x1 is -10. Okay, so we're dealing with some integer work here. Just like Jay used to do and taught us, is if we take these two here and we're outside the bracket, we know two negatives equal positive. Same thing here. So we're actually going to add those numbers. So it would be 2 plus 4 would be 6. And then -2 plus 10 would be 8. And we know we can reduce that to 3 over 4. And it equals the same one as the front page. Okay? Then we're going to show you the next one, which is e to f. Okay? So e to f. Once again, I'm going to pick this as 0.1. This is 0.2. Then I can start filling it in. x1, y1, x2, y2. Our equation then is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then I'm going to have you guys help me fill this out. So what would be y2? -6. Someone else, what's y1? -6. Thank you. And then what's x2? 8. And then subtract x1, which is 2. So in this case, once again, we have those two negatives, so it becomes addition. And it would be 0. So -6 plus 6 is 0 over 6. If we did that on our calculator, we'd come up with the answer of 0. Okay, last but not least, if we remember, G to H was that straight up and down line. So we'll show you kind of what happens there. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So again, Y2 minus Y1, X2 minus X1. If I fill those in, Y2 being 10, Y1 being 5, X2 being negative 8, subtract X1 being negative 8. We've got those two negatives, so we got a positive. We'd end up getting 5 over what? 0. If you did that on your calculator, you're going to get error. And therefore, it's what? Undefined, right? That's the straight up and down one. So if you guys look at these and you look at your front page, they're the exact same thing. All we did is two different ways to find our slope, okay?